News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
70 years in prison for Marcus Karma. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. Congratulations. It's Friday, but it's Friday the 13th. All you triskaidekaphobiacs, you know who you are. So, but tomorrow's Valentine's Day, so that kind of makes up for it. Right now, it's cloudy, 36 degrees in Missoula. And our newscast this hour is brought to you by Dr. Troy Doxey and the friendly team at Chiropractic Works, where they're dedicated to your chiropractic solutions. Our top story this morning at yesterday's sentencing hearing for Marcus Karma. Both sides presented witnesses before Judge Ed McLean. For the prosecution, lead detective Guy Baker with the Missoula Police Department said Karma seemed to relish his status in the Missoula County Jail as a murderer.
He seems to relish in the notoriety of being a murderer, commenting how other inmates treat him and how they respond around him. In one conversation on December 28th of 2014, he referred to himself as American hero for what he did, and he wasn't being treated as a hero.
Well, the defense, Karma's mother, testified that her son would never intentionally kill anyone.
He has a loving family. You know, he really has no reason to kill anybody on purpose. You know, of course he feels remorse. He feels so bad. He is a father himself.
In the end, citing Karma's danger to society, Judge McLean sentenced Karma to 70 years in prison. He'll be eligible for parole in 20 years. And just moments after the sentence, lead prosecutor Andrew Paul said the sentence was fair and even less than his office had asked for.
I do believe it was a fair sentence. It was less than what we recommended, but I think the judge did a good job of taking into account all the facts and all the factors that he needed to in order to arrive at a fair sentence.
And in an exclusive interview with KGVO News, Karma's lead attorney Paul Ryan said the defense was prepared for the lengthy sentence.
But it doesn't surprise us what the judge is. I think the judge was in a difficult position once the jury made their finding, and that's where he felt was the appropriate sentence and consistent with the facts that he heard and the jury's verdict.
When asked if the sentence was fair, Ryan said 70 years was appropriate for the verdict of deliberate homicide, but he said the playing field was not equal for his client.
What we asked was never that this be dismissed or anything else, but that we just receive a venue where we felt that was an equal playing field. And I don't think there's many people in this community can say that this was an actual, fair, balanced venue for this to be heard.
Ryan said going through the appeals process to the Montana Supreme Court may take up to a year. In our next newscast, we'll hear from the father of Deer and Day. An unidentified man was hospitalized with serious injuries after being struck by a train in Bonner yesterday. Deputy Zach Sargent with the Missoula County Sheriff's Office told me this morning the 30-year-old man was with a friend, and they were apparently trying to cross the tracks before the train got there. The first man made it across. The second man did not when the train struck him, running him over. The victim was taken to St. Patrick Hospital with serious injuries. His name and current condition are unknown. A 22-year-old Montana City man has pleaded guilty to his role in an Interstate 15 crash that killed a man and seriously injured a woman. The Independent Record reports Cal Mullen pleaded guilty in district court in Boulder on Wednesday to vehicular homicide while under the influence and negligent vehicular assault. Sentencing is set for May 13th. Prosecutors say Mullen had a blood alcohol level of 0.265 when he crashed his pickup truck near Montana City on June 14th. Court records say he left the truck on the highway and didn't try to warn oncoming vehicles or report the crash. A vehicle driven by 42-year-old Jason West struck the wrecked pickup. The collision killed 38-year-old Wyman Hewitt and caused severe injuries to 36-year-old Ann Boster, West's passengers. West has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of criminal endangerment for driving inattentively after drinking. A federal judge has sentenced a South Dakota woman to 22 years in prison for the murder of a woman on Montana's Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation. U.S. District Judge Susan Waters sentenced 42-year-old Eugenia and Roland of Pine Ridge yesterday in Billings. Roland pleaded guilty last year to second-degree murder in the death of 21-year-old Hannah Harris. Her common-law husband, Garrett Wada, faces sentencing April 1st after pleading guilty to being an accessory after the fact. Authorities say Roland and Wada had been drinking with Harris on July 3rd and 4th, 2013. There was a fight, and Roland said she and Wada beat Harris. The cause of Harris's death couldn't be determined because her body was badly decomposed when it was found 4 days later. New EPA regulations for wood-burning stoves are going to tighten up regulations on sellers and manufacturers. However, Guy Hansen with Missoula's Axemen said the updated rules are actually a welcome change.
We really welcome the new rules because they address a lot of the new technology more accurately, and they fix some of the quirks and foibles of the old law. We've looked at our products on our floor, and we don't have anything that we sell that will be affected by this in the next 5 years.
Senator Steve Daines recently said the new regulations were a threat to rural Montana because they would threaten access to affordable energy. Hansen sees things differently.
I'm sorry, but I don't agree. I've spent 4 years working on this. I really think that it's a pretty good improvement on what we had before. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what it does and how it works, but it's been actually a really good process. EPA has, I think, negotiated in good faith and done a good job of trying to make this a workable process.
The new regulations are the first major update by the EPA on the emission standards since the 80s. Montana's summers are often plagued by smoke-filled skies. New research out of the University of Montana shows that air pollution may have a significant negative impact on the IQ of children as young as 11. Dr. Lillian Calderon from the UM Center for Structural and Functional Neurosciences says about 20% of the population has a gene that puts them at risk.
Children that carry the APOE4, living in an environment where there is a lot of urban pollution, have the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease as early as age 11. The results suggest that these children, perfectly healthy otherwise, carrying the APOE4 allele, have 10 points in the IQ less than their counterparts.
Perhaps the most alarming aspect of the study is the short duration of exposure needed before the brain is affected.
The process of neuroinflammation starts right away, and this is a cascade event. Once you start with the process of inflammation, the process keeps going in the brain unless you do something about it. The neuroinflammation and the systemic inflammation start within a few hours after exposures.
Calderon says that negative impacts can occur even when the air quality warning is just for sensitive groups. Newstalk time, 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly sunny skies today with our high temperatures in the low 50s. Partly cloudy tonight with our lows right around the freezing mark. We'll bring in a chance of rain on Saturday. That rain will mix with snow by Sunday night. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.